Hey everybody, it's Jay with Dirty Girl Designs, and I am here showing you yet another vintage sewing machine. Now, unlike the other two videos that I've done recently, this machine was a deliberate purchase. The other two I kind of stumbled onto at a local antique store and didn't have any choice because they're 10 bucks a piece. This was different. This was an Etsy purchase of a machine that I have always actually really wanted. I first saw one back in probably the mid-90s at my grandfather's auctions, and I thought at the time it was the coolest machine, and I've never stumbled on one since. Not as complete as this one is either. In fact, I don't think the one I saw originally was this complete. But you're probably looking at the case thinking, oh great, it's a toy vintage sewing machine. And no, it is not. It is actually a normal sewing machine. I do know, however, with these, they actually run insanely slow. We're going to have to take a look at that because I was reading the manual and apparently they use this lifetime lubricant, and it is definitely not lifetime of the machine. So let's take a look at this machine meanwhile. The first thing is, like I said, it's a fairly small suitcase. The entire thing only weighs about 10 pounds, which is nice. And this machine was meant to be taken around by a tailor. You know, if you got that last minute wedding repair, you can actually take the machine to the wedding venue and repair something real quick. It really wasn't meant for heavy duty household sewing. First thing is this is a table. This is meant to hold that table in there, and it has come off. You know, if you were born in 1954, you probably have a few parts coming off as well, so not that unusual. Aluminum table, flocked on the back, which I thought was actually kind of a clever design touch. And again, these are all full-size sewing accessories. This right here, as a matter of fact, is a table clamp so that you can turn the machine into a, what are they, long arm? You can make the machine take big things like quilts. This machine does not sew that fantastic. I do not suggest sewing any kind of quilts on this. I'm not even convinced just yet this machine could handle layers. Here's the machine, and I thought this was kind of clever. They actually did little dipped pieces of wood to hold the machine while it is in the case. We're going to set that to the side for a second. Now, the bell actually came in a couple of different cases, the suitcase style, and then there's another one that's like a miniature carrier style that also has a table. Now, this area, I took it out because I wanted to show you guys this machine running. This little area here actually holds the foot. Now, the foot appears to be Bakelite. It's got everything's all original on this machine, quite honestly. I thought this was clever as well. Wind, showing what direction to put the cord into. And another design feature that I thought was kind of clever, attachments with a little bell, of course. So they really did their work on their branding, but after reading about the company, they really didn't know too much about business and how to run it. So these machines their fuller size machines did okay. This particular one did not do great. And you just watched me put that table down right into the case because this now becomes the entire sewing machine. You drop the sewing machine in like this, and boom, there you go, it's all set. Another one of the drawbacks, I'm going to show you this real quick. Another one of the drawbacks to this machine, though, was that the bobbin is just ridiculously tiny. And you push this little button in the center, and this is the bobbin area, which, you know, again, a little bit of that 50s futuristic sort of. I love when a machine makes a fool of me. There you go. So the bobbin plate's all done. But this is the carrier, and this is ridiculously tiny. In fact, I've got a regular size bobbin up here. Of course I do. And you can see the huge difference. And apparently they had plastic bobbins. I understand the Singer 29 bobbin will fit these, but it is a ridiculously tiny machine. And one of the things I looked at when I first saw one of these as a kid was, well, where's the flywheel? You know, usually that'd be down at this end. And even on these mini portables, there's often still a flywheel. this does have one, believe it or not. I'm not sure if you can spot it, but it does have one. And yep, that is the flywheel. I thought that was rather clever. Now, another thing on the back, you have things like the light, which does actually work. And one of the, again, design flaw with this machine, in my opinion, when they did these, that's your presser foot lever. You snap that down and it does that. It's honestly, I don't think too many seamstresses would have enjoyed that. Apparently for a while they were making them in plastic. These often break off. Mine luckily happens to be metal, but quite honestly I would not be shocked if those broke off even more. I have run this briefly, but I'm not going to lie, I have not threaded it yet. I have not actually attempted to sew with it because I took one look at the sewing chart and said, oh, that's not going to happen anytime soon. Well, again, I don't like running a machine with absolutely nothing under it, so we're going to put this presser foot down. This machine runs insanely slow. I think a lot of it has to do with it needs to be oiled. I don't think it's been oiled since the day it was bought, quite honestly. It gives off that smell of not quite grinding metal, but you can tell it hasn't been oiled. And apparently they used something with graphite that was supposed to be a lifetime lubricant, and trust me, Belmore guys, if you're still around, it didn't work. And let's push this pusher foot down, and I will show you the flywheel going. And that's the flywheel. That is also where you wind the bobbin. Not, like I said, this is not an amazingly fast machine. It was not meant to be. Reverse and forward, and you've got stitch length. And that's it. This is a back to basics mending sort of machine. You know, we see those menders on eBay for like $10 a piece. This is essentially, in my opinion, probably the equivalent, although in 1954 the manufacturing suggested retail on this was $80. $80 back in 1954 would have bought a far bigger machine. I think even in 1954 the person buying this was buying it for the novelty. It is a clever little machine, and I would like to see if I can't get it running a little bit better, but this is not a machine that I, as someone who is a seamstress, would have ever picked in 1954 to take someplace. I would have picked, you know, like a white with a carrying case or something, because this, quite honestly, this would not have done the job. It is a nice machine. It will never probably be as collectible as, say, the Singer Featherweights, because, you know, they're at least a high functioning machine. This little Belmore, I think this could be a pretty good functioning machine, and I am looking forward to teaching children to sew on this machine. But as far as, you know, you're not going to put a quilt under this. You could probably do a dress on this, but you're really not going to want anything with more than a couple of layers. Matter of fact, this is one of the mug rugs I do. Thor. Come on. You all like Thor, admit it. This is super simple. There's nothing in this more than, you know, 2 pieces of cotton, and this isn't even lined inside. There's nothing in there, and those feed dogs were having nothing to do with it. So this machine is pretty lightweight, and it shouldn't be. I'm a little puzzled as to why it is, quite honestly, because the whole thing weighs about 10 pounds. And I'm going to be honest, at least 8 of those pounds are in the machine itself. So there are some good parts in there. I want to figure out why that's not running quite the way it should. It could be as simple as oil. I'm definitely going to take a look at it and see what the deal is. But there you go, everybody. That is a Bell MB102. They can be found on eBay and Etsy. I have to admit, I have never seen one this complete. Again, they do take full-size attachments, so, you know, you're not going to get one with no attachments and not figure out what it can take, because it can definitely take the full-size attachments. And again, if you want something that can become a long arm, you know, it's clever. It's a clever little machine.